What's going on, people, and welcome to the Blue Steel Podcast Show. I am your co-host, LV Live, along with my co-host, Jeff. People, thank you for all the support. We're seeing a lot of great responses from our new viewing that we're doing with the camera split screen thing, and we appreciate that. But continue to hit us up at bluesteelshow@gmail.com, bluesteelshow@gmail.com. Also, too, hit us up, LV Live. JB Presents Locker Room Talk on Facebook. Once again, I've sent out a lot of invites to a lot of people. We got a lot of responses. We also up to 100 members, which is fabulous. So that's great. So just keep it coming. Once again, if you have statements, comments, once again, put it on a Facebook page, because we'll definitely discuss it during the show. So listen, let's get straight to it, Jeff. Episode 7 and 8, The Last Dance this weekend. What'd you think about them, brother?
Like two things stood out to, well, three. One, you got a little glimpse of the other side of Michael Jordan, which I thought was really cool. In the episode 7, he got kind of emotional talking about his teammates. There's a big thing has been like Barkley made those comments talking about, he's picking on people that are lesser than and stuff like that. But they're only showing like clips of practice. It's not like they're showing 20 hours of practice. I'm sure Mike typed everybody like that at some point. Right. It's like Kobe did. Right. So I think that was kind of silly for people to say that. But it was not. I mean, because when you go through seasons, you win at the highest level. You have love for those people, man. Like you might not necessarily like everybody, but you accomplish something like that. That's awesome. And they did that 6 times. So. He's rough and tough, but he loves those guys. He just wanted to win. And that was cool that they felt that, you got a little glimpse of that at the very end of episode 7. So I like that a lot. That was a good moment to see, like contrast to what you normally see with MJ. Other thing, I think I lost it. The big thing, and we can talk about this in a little bit after we talk about, but the way Pippen is being viewed in this whole documentary is basically Jordan's reflection of his career. Pretty much is what it ultimately is. That's big. In terms of something we can talk about, I think. But that was the biggest thing was that, to me, that end of episode 7 was the best episode to me. They're all really good, but it had a lot of a wide range of emotions in that. So I like that one a lot. So what you think?
I definitely agree with you, man. Powerful, man. That's why I had to take a pause. Powerful was something. It's like what I stated pretty much on the show. Not really on the show, excuse me, when I went on Facebook, and I pretty much made the statement on our Facebook page. You just really saw who Mike was. And that's why I think this breakdown, this 10 series, this 10 episode doc series is just great because it's touching on so many different things that we didn't know about Mike. Mike was such an introvert back then that
still is.
Right? Still is, very true. You still didn't have a really understanding of who he was and what he was. It's kind of like what I said a couple of shows back. Back then, if you know, Jeff, that's when stars were stars, You didn't have access to them like that. You didn't have, just imagine, perfect example, like Michael Jackson. We didn't have access to Michael Jackson like that.
Right.
Right? Like he would pop out like once in a blue moon, like, oh, he's in Rome today. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. And it was a big deal. When you would see Michael Jordan or you would hear him talk, it was a huge deal. But to get into just who he was, and I know it's talking about the Bulls, but this is really like an MJ thing, right? Even though it's touched on Pippen and everybody else, it's really a glimpse and really a breakdown of the GOAT. Because everybody's been trying to break that Da Vinci Code, right, with him and who he was and what made him tick. And at the end of episode 7, you saw what made him tick.
Yeah.
You saw it. And it was he just wanted to be the best. He wanted to be the greatest. And it's kind of like what I said a couple of shows ago. To me, that's the Pistons, man. The Pistons drove that. I mean, you could talk about Once again, his brother, really helping him with his game. But losing to the Pistons, not just in the Eastern Conference Finals, Jeff, but all those years prior in the second round of the playoffs, during the regular season, they would beat him down so much that his competitive fire was at an all-time high, and that was across the board. And it was just, just seeing that in him. And then, of course, you saw him get emotional about it because his thing was that, listen, man, if you don't like me because of that, then so be it. But to me, I was willing to give it all up to be great, to be the GOAT, right? And it's kind of like, not to sound crazy, but it's kind of like those kids who play sports, Jeff, like, with the AAU circuit. It's some of those kids, you either have a choice, right? You can either go to the party or you can practice at home late at night. Jordan would practice late at night. He was that guy. So he was willing to give it all up for greatness, man. And that, to me, that's what I took from the series. And of course, to your point, I mean, people who knew, we all knew this about Scottie. We wasn't shocked. That's why he was Robin, because he was not Batman. He just wasn't. And if you remember, I think it was episode 8, Jeff, when they talked about that second season when Jordan wasn't there, how they were terrible. They were like 34 and 31. They were barely 500. Mm-hmm. Because Scottie was not Batman. He just wasn't. He was Robin. And when you kind of put him in that Batman role, he struggled with that. He let them down on a lot of different occasions. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's a good spin into it, in that as well. What say you, sir?
Well, here's my problem with, not that that's not factual, but when you have a lot of people who are going to take this Jordan's the biggest name with the Bulls, period. So Pippen was a lot of other things. That was part of it as well. Like, that was a horrible moment when he sat on the bench and checking the game. And it was crazy to hear what happened in the locker room. I never heard all that stuff. So that was one thing. But everybody be emotional about that because he did. He just put on his team. I would love to hear why Phil did that, though. Like, I don't know if they asked that question and it just wasn't part of the documents. But if I'm interviewing Phil Jackson, we're talking about that, I'm definitely going to say, why did you – and he might just be like, because who coach hit the shot? I just be like, all right, fine. Like, was there anything behind that? He's a different type of coach. So I'd love to know if there's a reason why he did that, but they didn't ask that.
Right.
But also, it doesn't – I don't think it's given enough of the story of Pippen. Not that this is about Pippen, but, I mean, Mike gave him his props literally the first episode. He said, never won without Scottie, best team he ever had, et cetera. So, but I don't want that to be watered down with just, the injury. Because if somebody never knew who Scottie Pippen was, they'd be like, oh, he sat out that last year. He wanted more money. Mike said he's being selfish. He didn't check in with 1.6 seconds, whatever it was in the game. And they're not seeing necessarily the greatness of Scottie. Even calling him Robin is like a slight to him, even though he was. It's still not giving him his props in terms of how great of a player he was. Mm-hmm. So that's my whole thing. Like, it's not giving it – I don't think it's giving it enough of a scope of Scottie in terms of, yes, those are things that happened, but also he was one of the best defensive wing players ever.
Well, that wasn't his total career.
Like,
that wasn't his total career.
Right. But people that see this –
right.
Because there's going to be younger people who never saw Scottie play, and people who are just – I know people watching this that don't even really love sports all like that. They don't watch sports. And, a couple people are like, man, what's up with Scottie? Like, man, I ain't, like, literally people text me. Like,
right.
Because people are like, man, what you doing? Right. So people are going to have that mindset.
I mean, Jeff, Scottie was great. Scottie was great. Let's be clear. Scottie was great. He's 50 all-time greatest players ever. Probably, I would say probably top 3, probably best small forwards ever, right?
I don't know if he's that high.
Top 5, top 3, top 5, what?
I'd have to look at a list because you got LeBron, you got Bird, and kind of get a better idea of like some of the other players. There's other people that he's probably in the second tier. Just because
he's up there, Jeff.
No, I'm not saying he's not. I don't know if he's top 3 though. Just because he was never. All those people that I'm talking about were the A person on their team.
Right, but that's
Much
why I'm
to your
calling.
point.
But Jeff, that's why I'm calling him Robin.
I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is I don't want people to like the. It's kind of it's just getting the whole scope of it. I don't want people to belittle his career, but I also don't want, he wasn't Mike. Nobody's Mike, but you know what I mean. I just want it's like having a full rounded character in a story. That's all. And it's kind of a little bit one-sided because it's not him. It didn't. I mean, he didn't help himself with the comment either. I would have did it again. Like, come on, dude. For real?
Well, Jeff, he's telling you who he is.
Right, which is fine. But I'm like, dude, I'm not saying that out loud.
Right, but listen, I agree too. I'm not saying that out loud either. But that's what I'm saying.
Now.
But Jeff, but that's my point. But that's my point. For him to make that statement, that shows that he is a Robin. Batman's not going to say that. So that's my point. So he, as great as he was, Jeff, in some ways, he knocked down his greatness by his choices.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Not on a totality, but I'm just saying that it causes people to kind of question you with certain things. So then,
definitely.
When, like I said, that second year when it was fully like his, they didn't play well. But that's because the team didn't look at him like Mike. They did it.
Well, he's not.
So it's very hard.
I mean, you can put anybody in that position. I mean, let's say it's Scotty, but there's no Mike. There's no MJ. You take literally the greatest player off of any team, they ain't gonna be the same. The first year, because you got a residual of that same team dynamic. Second year, you ain't gonna be the same.
Right. But Jeff, you have to understand too. The other dynamic is it's okay. It's like everything is great. Or when the parent leaves the first day, everything is great in the house. Everybody's happy, right? Everybody's good. The second day is when chaos comes.
Right. That's the same thing. The exact same thing.
It's like
everything is cool. And it's like, oh, hold up. How we gonna eat? So
then the parent comes back and they say, yo, we need mom and dad back or whomever, because we gotta tighten things up.
Right.
He's not doing his homework. He's not doing his chores.
Right. That's a great point. That's a great point.
And that's who Mike was. Because if you remember, the funny part too, Jeff, if you remember when I think it was Bill Whittington, right? He stated when Mike came back, he said, "Hey, we're glad to have you back." He said, "All right, are you ready to grab onto the ready to grab onto the cape?"
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That was the juice, man. Funny. He had the juice, and that's what it was. And you know what? Once he came back, he got everybody in line. When he came back, he said, yo, this is what we're doing. Off season, this is what's going on. Tim Grover said, when you want to work, he said, I'll be there tomorrow. So he got everybody in line, B. He did not play. And that, in a lot of ways, was his greatness. He didn't care if he was liked. And as a parent, I don't care if I'm liked today, but you're going to take care of business.
You ain't supposed to be like, you ain't a friend as a parent. The other funny thing, man, was about Gary Payton. Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
The glove.
He's like, and it was funny. The transition was like, I have no problems with the glove. The transition, it was hilarious. He actually did have a little bit of, obviously, I'm sure a lot of mental stuff with everything going on, but he didn't play that well games 3 and 4 and 5.
Right.
And 6 he did okay, but that was hilarious, man. He's cracking up. He's like, I have no problems with that.
Right.
No problems. Come on, basically.
Well, the laugh tells you everything, right?
That was hilarious.
The laugh tells
the face and the laugh. The memes are hilarious. So.
Yeah, we've all been there as an athlete, right? When someone says, oh, this person could have stopped you, you just start laughing. You say, come on.
Yeah.
Because you feel like there's no need to really explain or go into detail. Like, you know who I am. Like, I don't really, right? And that's the laugh. Like, you know what I mean? And it was a hearty laugh too. Like, it wasn't like, it was I'm about to be in tears.
That was funny.
But one thing, let's be clear. Gary Payton was a tremendous talent. Let's be clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. He wasn't just a scrub. Gary Payton was legit point guard out in the West.
Hall of Famer. Yeah.
All, you know what I mean? So he was no joke. The glove was legit. But that just shows you what type of level Mike was on. Because the best of the best, the A+ dudes, was so far behind, man. So far behind. It just, when he turns it on and he said, "I'm locking it in," there's nobody, Jeff, just think of all the greats back then who could have won a ring, but they couldn't because of this guy.
Yeah.
The greats.
Oh.
Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, John Stockton. Think of the greats, Jeff, who are Hall of Famers who could have had 1 or 2 rings. He stopped them all. Like, that just shows how he was. Like, he would just put his foot on your neck and he would not let up, And as you see, that competitive spirit kind of leaned into him punching Steve Kerr in the face.
Yeah, which, I don't know why they made it be good. That's an old story.
Right. Right.
but I guess
to your point, Jeff, to your point, Jeff, a lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah, I guess so.
They don't know that side of him. They don't. And just how he can be, like how tenacious he can be. He was a bully, if you want to be honest.
Yeah.
Just like your boy out there in LA. Kobe was a bully too.
Yeah. They're very similar in some regards, for sure. Kobe just let you in. We still know Kobe better than Jordan. Jordan's always been very kept a distance from himself. Kobe, because some stuff that happened, Kobe self-inflicted stuff, but he just let people see inside of him a lot more after that.
But I think also too, Jeff, but I think a lot of it had to do with the social media too, right? Because he came in on at the end of Jordan's career, but his prime years was really during the social media era. When it just started
kicking up. Getting started, yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so that played a huge role.
That, and then Kobe also did a lot more. There's a lot of things where you'll see Kobe, like interviews. Like Jordan doesn't do all that stuff.
No,
Jordan
doesn't.
He's very, but like you said, that's what made, like back then, that's what made you a really big star. Because like when we grew up, there was no team in Pittsburgh. I never saw Jordan play in person. And you'd only see him if he came to your town or that NBC game, maybe, but there wasn't many games on, So when you saw him, it was like a tour, literally.
Right.
Oh, Mike's here. People in on the garage, trying to get a glimpse of him, stuff because he was a rock star.
Right.
So it wasn't as accessible like you pointed out earlier.
Right. I mean, he was definitely larger than life, man. He was definitely larger than life. You know what I mean? But just this documentary, just even Jeff, what I love too was also the part when right after they lost, when he started filming Space Jam, and just him, and Jeff, just him calling up his boys saying, "Yo, we playing pickup." Look at the amount of people that came through to play pickup with him, from Reggie Miller, from Patrick Ewing, to a couple other dudes I saw out there that
Ron Howard was out there.
Yeah, Chris Webber, I think, like a couple of guys. They came out there to ball with him. That just showed you his juice. Because when Mike called, they was like, "Nah, we gonna go because Mike called, so let's go and show up because the GOAT want us to come play." Just pick up. But then they said, but in the background, he's picking apart everybody.
That was a funny part. That was an interesting part about that. Yeah.
Right. It's the art of war, man. It's the art of war. You brought them all in, break them down, and say, okay, I know what he likes to do. I know what he likes to do. Okay, we gonna start off right. We're gonna start off right.
Yeah.
So Jeff,
that was cool.
So Jeff, before we end it, real quick, that Bulls team, 72-10. 72-10. Do they beat your LA Lakers 2000-2001? I'm listening.
It's hard to say, man. Because you got the Shaq factor, man. Like, there's something. So, a couple things about the Bulls dynasty. They never played a dominant center in the finals. Not saying they didn't, like Patrick and stuff in the East.
Right.
Everybody they played was the first time, except for the Lakers, but they was done. All the other teams they played was first time. Utah was the first and second making it. So there was a couple of things in there that were the way it lined up for them. It's just hard to, I mean, obviously you have Rodman, but you got Shaq though, man. It's literally in his prime. Like, you couldn't stop Shaq. And you had a young Kobe who was as athletic as, honestly, more athletic than Jordan at that time.
Listen, that's the Kobe 8. That ain't 24. That's the Kobe 8.
Yeah.
When he had the blowout.
Like,
when he had the blowout.
That was the more athletic Kobe. And, like, so that would have been, and then you have to, that would have been, I don't even know, to be honest with you.
Listen,
I would probably get
Jeff, I don't do gray areas, my man. I do black and white.
I would probably pick the Bulls, give them a slight edge, but
no,
51 and 49, but that's it.
Jeff, you said it already.
That would be it.
You said it already, Jeff. No. Shaq, that's it. That's it.
You got for Shaq.
Listen, that's it.
You got.
Listen. I have this debate all the time, and people, if you're watching this show, please get at me about this. Nobody stops Shaq. Kobe, I'll give the edge to MJ just because he's the GOAT, but Kobe ain't that far behind.
Mm-mm.
So let's say Jordan's 99, Kobe's 98.5, 98, right? Small forward, Robert Horry, Rick Fox. That cancels out Scottie Pippen. Derek Fisher played that D. He played locked up. Ron Harper.
Harper's better than Fish.
Fish was tough.
Harper's better than Fish.
But
I love Fish, but
and it's Shaq in the middle, Jeff. Oh my God. Shaq is getting 40 and 20.
He was getting that anyway. Like that final series, those 3 years, I looked at his numbers. I don't have them, but man, he was killing in the finals. Man. He was putting up like 30 and 20 every night.
Here's the only issue.
Free throws.
Free throws. That's it. You know
the
Laker guy.
Always.
You know.
Always.
That's it. But here's the thing. But if it's free throws, then that means somebody's getting fouled out.
Yeah.
So if they get fouled out.
John Sally's playing or something. I think Sally was on that team, wasn't he?
Come on.
He's on both teams, actually.
Come on, man.
Teams. Yeah.
To me, that's
like I said.
That's the edge. That's the put over right there.
Yeah.
Is Shaq.
Ron
Harper wasn't dropping 20. Ron Harper might have given 10. I see him, right? Him and Fish was. That's why I said Fisher was doing the same thing, like what Ron Harper was doing, just a little shorter, right?
Yeah.
But Fisher plays that deep. Here's the thing. So that's what I'm saying. Cancel out a bit. But Harper's 6'6". Fisher was about 6'2", 6'3".
Mm-hmm.
But Shaq. Come on, man. They had nobody for him.
No, he never had nobody for Shaq, really.
Who, Luke Longley?
Luke fell out in 2 minutes.
And then they put in Bill Whittington.
Getting killed.
Bro, that's what listen, man. He's the factor. I'm telling you.
I ain't disagreeing.
That's why I honestly would pick it. Ready? I would pick the Lakers in 7.
It would definitely go 7.
I got the Lakers.
Tough. That's only reason I say. I mean, like,
because you know what?
Goes on with the 7, never plays dominant center.
Because here's the other dynamic too. Let's remember, Kobe gonna get his. Kobe gonna get his. I love MJ. I'm a huge Jordan fan, but the only person I know gonna go right at his throat is Kobe.
Yeah. Definitely.
They cut from the same cloth. They eat the same food. They're the same great white shark. He gonna go right at MJ and try to dunk it on his neck.
That was It's a great question.
Yeah. Listen, Kobe 8 was different, Jeff.
Yeah, like I said, that was the
different,
younger, more
man.
athletic Kobe. So, and like I said, Jordan, that he wasn't as athletic. He knew the game better though, so he have to be. So,
Yeah. Yo, great show, man.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, people, thank you for coming on and supporting us. Listen, me and Jeff are definitely going to have a quick hitter tomorrow. We'll definitely have a topic out to where you guys can come in and check out. But please, once again, send us your questions, send us your statements. And it just doesn't have to be on bluesteelshow@gmail.com. We would love for you guys to go there. But if not, you can hit us up on LB Live. JB Presents Locker Room Talk. Like I said, Jeff is putting great content up every single day. He does an amazing job. Any questions you have there, statements, you can put on that page also. You know, so we could definitely bring it to the show and bring it, but we're going to definitely have a quick hitter tomorrow to discuss a couple of things that we have on the table. Me and Jeff just got to work out some scheduling things to see what time tomorrow, but it'll definitely be out tomorrow, and we'll take it from there, man. Yo, brother, great show, my man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everybody, for your support.
Absolutely. I'm going to holler at you, brother.
All right.
All right.